In our very first video together, Nick and I discussed AMD coming down for a C-wave correction. And just yesterday alone, it dropped over 9%, landing right at the golden retracement levels we forecasted months ago. But this isn't just a technical win, this is a massive signal for where risk assets are right now. Because here's the thing, guys, while Bitcoin and the S&P 500 are showing massive signs of exhaustion in a looming macro correction, AMD is like the altcoin market, reset, refueled, and ready for a new trend. So in this video, I'm going to show you how AMD just validated textbook Elliott wave structure, why this could be the early signal for an altcoin season, and how sector rotation could be painting a huge opportunity for traders who are paying attention. Let's break it all down. So what is AMD and why should the crypto community care? Well, AMD is one of the biggest players in semiconductors or computer chips, and these are the core technology behind everything from smartphones to AI. And think of these as the invisible engine behind the tech world. And without them, there's no data processing, no machine learning, no blockchain validation. They are the infrastructure behind the infrastructure. And semiconductor stocks like AMD are part of a risk-on asset class, just like crypto. And they're really sensitive to interest rates and liquidity and innovation. And they often move in sync with altcoins. And so while Bitcoin will tend to follow the broader macro trend like the S&P, altcoins are much more tied to speculative tech trends, just like AMD. When capital rotates into high risk, high reward plays, we often see altcoins and semiconductors trending together. In other words, when AMD bottoms and starts trending, it's often leading signal for altcoins. So this makes AMD an important chart to watch for anyone holding crypto, not just for equity traders, but for crypto traders looking to front run the upcoming altcoin season. So let's get into this AMD chart and break down the ABC that has been forming. Nick and I discussed this ABC a few months ago, and we were targeting down towards the golden retracement levels here at 92 to 85. And you can see we are right at 88. So right at those levels there. And this was also where our C wave was targeting. We have those golden retracement levels there, but this was also where that C wave was targeting with our 1.236 extension. So we had good confluence with this level that the price was going to come down here. And now we're looking for that reaction that we're expecting for price to continue up from this level. So next thing we would want to look at is the RSI, because we would want to see that bullish divergence forming as this price is reaching this critical level here. So what I do want to do is drop down to that 1 hour time frame, and let's look at the RSI and see if we can get any early signals that we're going to get that pivot. Okay, I've dropped it down to the 1 hour time frame now, and I want to stay focused on the RSI. Down here, as the price has made a new low testing this golden pocket area, you can see that we are making a bullish divergence on the RSI. So price has come down to make a new low while the RSI has trended upward. So it has not made a new low. This is giving a signal that that selling is exhausted. This is exhaustion in the market here. So this is a standard and classic ABC, and you can see here AMD is very similar to altcoins where we're finishing our C of a correction. So we are almost done with our correction, ending it here at our retracement levels there. So this looks very similar to a standard altcoin right now that you would pull up in a crypto, reaching the golden retracement levels and also reaching a C of a correction. So that's very important. Those are very distinct phases in the market cycle. and very similar to each other right now. So guys, back to the 4-hour chart here on AMD. Completing this ABC here, we would expect AMD to continue on for a new trend from here. So from the lows that it's put in, I am getting targets up here towards 300, around 300 area. So that would come up to make a new high up towards there. I think that we could start to be making a new trend up towards that price. We are looking right now for confirmation that we're going to get that pivot in the market from these levels. You can see if I step back a little bit to the left of the chart, which usually gives us further confirmation, you can see just how critical of a level this area is here. But there is the potential of coming down a little bit lower here to 55 if we really start to break down these supports here. So we are coming to these critical levels here. We do need to keep an eye on this lower level at 55. This is the 786 golden retracement, previously a subwave 4. So this is previous support that could be tested if we start to break down these golden retracement levels. But as we just saw on that 1-hour chart, we are starting to see signs that we could get that pivot that we're looking to see right at this critical golden retracement level here. And like I said, this golden retracement level does have confluence with our C wave target, as well as it being those really key Fibonacci retracement levels there. So we definitely could see signs that our C is complete here and starting to come up for a new trend on AMD. All right, you guys, I have the Bitcoin chart pulled up here. I'm on the daily time frame. Step back so you can see the scale of this correction that is looming here. And I want you to take notice of the difference of where Bitcoin is at in its correction versus what we just saw on AMD. So with AMD, we did see that it was already completed with that C wave of its correction. While you can see here on Bitcoin, it does appear that we could be completing just the A wave of the correction, coming up for a B wave. So coming up only about 50% of the way, and then ultimately making new lows from there, currently targeting about 57,000. So this is very different from what we saw over on AMD, where a new trend could be forming up to new highs, similar to what we see in altcoins. Over here on Bitcoin, we could be coming up for just a short-term rally, not to new highs. So this is something obviously very distinct and very different in the market cycle. And this is why I think we could be setting up an opportunity for that capital shift and into the altcoin market, like I have been suspecting for a while. So as you see here, we would expect Bitcoin to only come up for that 50% correction. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on 92,000 to 96,000 area. These are going to be critical levels to look for exhaustion in the market on the RSI, any signs of a pivot there in both Bitcoin as well as the S&P 500 coming up for just a short-term rally and making new lows after that, following a similar pattern to what you see here on Bitcoin. So I definitely wanted to point out here what you saw over on AMD coming down, already completing the C wave there, while Bitcoin is in a very distinct, very different phase in its market cycle. So while they both may rhyme, in all markets, we may see this short-term rally, especially with the tariff pause and other economic factors playing out. We could see a short-term rally across all markets, but it does appear that Bitcoin and S&P 500 could just have that short-term impulse with a correction following later. And with AMD, tech stocks, and altcoins having a rally and that sector rotation at that point, at that B top there. So let's be prepared. Let's keep a close eye for that rotation at those prices coming up. I also wanted to take note of where Bitcoin is at because it did dip below that critical 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level at 79,000. And you can see it didn't quite reach that golden retracement. That was at 72,000 roughly. So it came just shy of that and has since reclaimed that 0.5 support. So we are showing strength on Bitcoin. You can see this is the daily time frame, and with that drop there showed a massive bullish divergence on the RSI. So we are getting clear signs that this A wave could be complete, and we are heading up for that B wave there. So this is on the daily time frame. It has not played out yet, so we are getting early signs that we could get the price to start reacting soon on this. So we have Bitcoin potentially coming up to 92 to 96,000. And again, this is where we could see altcoins and tech stocks like AMD come up for new highs instead of finding that resistance like we would see in Bitcoin in the S&P 500 as well. So I think that this is a really clear example of how Bitcoin and S&P are following similar market phases, and how AMD and altcoins are following a similar market phase, but how they all can kind of rhyme together while being on the different phases of their markets. So I think this is a very clear example to show you guys, with AMD and altcoins already finishing C wave, Bitcoin and S&P finishing the A wave of their correction, with much more to come, I think, later on for both of those markets. So you guys, AMD reaching these golden retracement levels is no coincidence. Just like altcoins, it is setting up the foundation for a massive new trend. If capital rotates out of overbought indexes and into high potential tech stocks and crypto names, we could be witnessing early stages of a powerful shift in leadership across many markets. So stay sharp and don't get sucked into a market that is about to lose steam. You guys, if you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the DataDash channel for more video breakdowns just like this one.